Okay, welcome Tim to our showcase. I think you would have been, I'm sure, proud to hear all the talks, but we know that you are busy, so that's not a reality for you. So I'd like to welcome you to present or say to us whatever you like.
Thank you. Sorry, I've been up with the Sunshine Coast Business Council this morning and just driven down now, so that's why I'm afraid I couldn't join you earlier. I have been trying to do this. I'm in the Chancellery. I wrote a few slides, but actually I think that what I've become separated from showing you the slides and presenting my screen and messing around for any further. I would rather just, what I've got to say, I think is pretty simple. And so I would just be reading out. So I've just given the slides. So I've got the slides on a screen here. Hey, I can do that. That's a bit bootstrap, isn't it? I think it will,
We can see, that's okay.
I think it will probably, it really will remind me. Okay, so the first thing is that Abigail, thank you very much for the opportunity. Abigail asked me to talk to GeneCology members about what the thoughts from executive were. I haven't gathered the thoughts of executive. I've got my own thoughts, if that's okay. And what I'd rather do is get through those as quickly as possible and then open that for discussion, and people can ask me whatever it is that they want. I hope that's okay. So that's when the first one says. These coming through. Can people actually see what's over my shoulder? No? Okay. One thing that I wanted to do was to say, was rehearse with people that the purpose of USC research centres, one of the things that you might have realised is that there was a bit of a reset button pressed about research centres at the beginning of the year. And so that's why I'm keen to point out here, we're talking about GeneCology as a University of the Sunshine Coast Research Centre. There are other research centres which are University of Sunshine Coast research centres, and there are other research centres that are within schools. Okay, so just to explain what I'm talking about in terms of that. And so really in terms of the purpose of a research centre, why would you bother having them? I think it's to channel research excellence. I think it's also, we need to be thought leaders in certain areas, and we need to be showing Australia and beyond what it is that, in terms of actually translating our research excellence into policy, into government policy for us and other places as well. So it's not just sitting on that research excellence, it's really converting that into something meaningful that I think is important for having research centres at a university. The other part of being a university research centre as opposed to a research centre, which I don't actually have management of, is this idea of interdisciplinarity. One of the most frequent question I get from people who are outside of well, people from USC who either are joining USC ask, why are the research centres not in schools? That's the most frequently asked question that I get about research centres. And my response back to that is the research centres need to be interdisciplinary. If they're not interdisciplinary, then actually they probably should be inside a school, just in terms of how things are administered. So the purpose of a research centre is to bring together that element of interdisciplinarity as well, which is focused. And one of the things that I've discussed with Abigail since I've arrived is where is the focus for GeneCology, because I think that in a way, you know, sometimes it's that elevator pitch moment. If people know what an elevator pitch is, you know, you get into the lift and you realize you're standing next to the chief executive or to the vice chancellor, and they just turn around and say, what do you do? Or what does your centre do? And you have to be able to tell people something in a very, very short definition that is positive, not what it is you don't do or whatever, it's actually what it is that you do. And I would want to know that for GeneCology. I think that it's something that I would want to know what your views on that actually is. And so my last point on that is that it's something that can't be done inside a school. A research centre, a university research centre, as opposed to a research centre, is stuff that just can't be done inside of one school, because you're reliant on that transfer between different schools. So, and it's kind of people understanding what it is that you do. I mean, I think these things work at a number of different levels. And when I actually, most of my career was based on research. People probably don't know that. They're probably thinking, why in the hell is the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic even talking to us? But, you know, in an idle moment, go and look me up and have a look at my H index and all that kind of toot if you want to. But when I used to ring up the research councils in Britain, they just used to say, ah, yes, Tim Wess collagen. And that was it. And sometimes I'd think, oh, that's a bit, you know, being categorized into one word, that's a bit rubbish. But at least they knew what I did, rather than going, we have no idea who you are, we have no idea what you do. I mean, sometimes I'd say, actually, I don't want to talk about collagen, I want to talk about something else, but at least I was a UK collagen person. And I guess that this is one of the things, it's for an individual in GeneCology, what's almost your one-word strapline, but also for GeneCology, what's your, maybe more than one word, but, you know, what's your strapline that actually you would say to somebody politician who might not really care about the nuances of various aspects of the interface between, you know, sea cucumbers and other sort of, and food. It's just, you know, they just want to know really, really quickly what you would describe yourselves as. So something I think I'd want to get back to look at. And I've got one more slide, which is really about what I think needs to be happening in terms of research centres. Things are changing. I don't know if people realise, but just the most recent, you know, we've had COVID, we've had the international student crisis. You might know that last week, what the government have done about funding for the university fees, you know, it's great news that if you want to do nursing, that the fee as a student has gone down. What people haven't quite figured out yet is that the total amount of money that the government will give for a nursing student and the new fee for it, the new reduced fee for a nursing student, doesn't add up to how much money we got for a nursing student last year. It's another hit to us in terms of our finances if this goes through Senate. So what needs to be happening in terms of what does this mean? What does less money for nursing mean to you in GeneCology? It's just that there's even less money in the system. For you to be self-sufficient, you know, I guess the question, if you're as good as you say you are in terms of being a research centre, then that level of self-sufficiency has just probably stepped up another notch. Oh, Abigail knows that I'm brutal. I don't sugarcoat things, do I, Abigail? No. So I'm just I mean, it's just gone up another notch. And so that level of self-sufficiency is, you know, prove yourselves in terms of that. Very much outcome driven. I think that research centres are going to have to be proving in a number of different ways, whether it's to do with, you know, from that research excellence, the question then is what can you do with it? Some of those outcomes might be training. I mean, one of the things I've talked to the research centre directors about is, you know, if you run short courses that are going to be absolutely expert from what your expertise is, then can you make money out of that? Can you increase your reach, your base of people that you might want to work with? So that's what I'm saying, is diversify your income. If you are very sensitized to one type of funding, then that's going to be incredibly risky over the next few years. They're saying that we're living I'm writing a lot, which is why I was with Sunshine Coast Business Council. We're in a thing called a VUCA world. VUCA, which is volatility, uncertainty, it's change and ambivalence. So we are living in a world that actually people do not know what's going to happen next. And anybody who thinks they know what's going to happen next, I think, is actually just living on a slightly different planet. But in those times, you have to be more ingenious than ever, and you have to be, if you diversify your income, then that's going to be a better way for survival. And I've always said survival is not a strategy. You've got to do better than survive, you've got to thrive. The other part I think I've written up there is about strong management and scrutiny in terms of the research centres. It really is a time for leadership in these research centres. A lot of stuff filters through to me that I have to make decisions about, where really things either shouldn't have got to me for making decisions about. So I'm looking for research centres to be more accountable than they've ever been. And also, I had my first experiment with people, and I think some of them might actually be on this today, of a meeting with the early career researchers, where it was almost beginning to have some sort of self-help group or mass mentoring, or I don't know, just various different ideas about how we can help each other. And I also see, though, that there is expertise in the research centres of the university. There's expertise in GeneCology. There are people who are absolutely fantastic at writing grants, and that's a transferable skill that I think that people should be able to help. You know, we have a new Vice Chancellor coming. She's coming in 6 weeks' time. Look useful, be useful is the best advice that I can give to anybody. You know, being the first person into her office having a bit of a whinge about not having enough money is not the approach to take. It's going to be show the new Vice Chancellor how useful you are individually and as an entity. She will have different views. She comes from an aged care and a healthy aging background. Sometimes what you find is Vice Chancellors thrive on what they really know about, and sometimes they actually want to be as fair as they can and actually look at the other parts of what they don't know about and make sure they get the support from that. We'll need to find out how that's going to flow. Abigail, thank you. Sorry, it's 11:17.
It's perfect. First of all, Tim, thank you very much for taking time from your busy day. I do know your background, and that is one of the reasons I actually would have loved you to be able to listen to all the talks, because I'm sure you would have understood them not just at the general level, but at the scientific level, and appreciated the quality of the work done here. But I perfectly understand that your time does not allow that.
I spent my time at 6:30 this morning. I was hunting around newspaper cutting that had a picture of me next to that sea cucumber that I was talking to you about, of what I was researching of autotomy of sea cucumbers, which is how they stiffen and how they relax. It's a nervous control of collagen fibrils. I just couldn't find it. I would have been showing you that had I found that.
That would have been nice, but anyway, it's still. So actually, I think you would have, really appreciated the work. There have been a few fantastic talks already today. But I know that part of what at the executive level, and when I say you are obviously a very important part of the executive, so you being here giving us the talk, it does follow the brief of what the executive thinks of us, or at least. But because we are interdisciplinary, and because we do come from different backgrounds on one hand, that's been, and I take full responsibility for the failure to be able to show why we are coherent, why we are doing well under one umbrella. So one, yes, I don't think we belong, and I'm convinced we don't belong in a school for that reason, and we have people from certainly 2 schools, but what do we do? So we did have a lot of soul searching about that, a lot, and that's when we, proposed to change our name to bioinnovation. So bioinnovation might sound vague on one hand, but it really is using biology and innovation together. And the way we're doing it is really through biodiscovery, which I think fits for what everyone is really doing. And we are doing a lot of discoveries which then branch out and have an impact in a whole suite of applications. So whether it is diagnostics of diseases, whether it's treating diseases for cancer or for anything else through biological materials, whether it is controlling reproduction in animals through biodiscovery of new hormones or compounds to control them. It just goes across the suite of things that different people are doing. Obviously, it's broader than that. We're also looking at the physiology and biology of the animals, because if you come cold just from a chemistry perspective and you don't have the biology around it, it really doesn't work. And the work that Bonnie was giving earlier on about eucalyptus bioactive materials for the koalas sort of show how we work together and bring together the expertise from a range, from zoology to physiology to genetics to genomics to analytical chemistry, how we bring it together to applications that are bioinnovation. So I don't know whether that is sharp enough and clear enough from your perspective, but
it's a very long lift that we've been in now, isn't it? We've hit the just.
Well, I'm going in a high 40-story building, so we had a bit more time, but I could have done it shorter too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've noticed, and I think Australia is as guilty of this as is the European Union, as is the UK, and it's really just, you can tell by my accent, most of the research and most of the work I've done has been in the UK and the European Union, is that even though organisations say they absolutely support interdisciplinarity, boy, do they have a problem funding it. Because, and so one of the things that I was talking to the early career research group about, really, but it's a whole conversation, is you need strength in disciplinarity to be interdisciplinary. And it's from that's the way that you get the funding. I've actually been very, very lucky in getting interdisciplinary funding in my career. It was, I don't know whether I'm just a lucky person or being in the right place at the right time, and I've changed what I've done. But I think it's we want interdisciplinarity, but we do everything we can at a funding level to actually prevent it. And I also see, I think applied research is incredibly important. I think applied research is incredibly important at the moment. I was saying the other day, I don't care what category funding. I think Australia giving categories to funding, I think is pretty of the last millennium. Money is money, as far as I'm concerned, because you need money to do your research. It's a pretty rough life if you don't have any money to do your research. But I'm not bothered whether it's category one. I think it's snobbery about these different areas. It's just whether people are giving you money. And I found that really difficult, but I found in Australia readjusting, because in Britain, I think it was just like, get the money, just get the money. It doesn't matter where you get the money from, just get the money. And then came to Australia and it was all, category one grants are incredibly important to us and whatever. And I thought, I've just gone back in time 20 years. And, in a way, people have to know what the framework is at the university about what's valued, and research excellence is valued, but where you get the money from doesn't matter too much. But we have to be, and I think you've got far more chance of interdisciplinary funding from industry than you have from ARC or NHMRC.
I couldn't agree more, and I certainly seen the shift at USC between the utter excitement from NARC, which are still incredibly hard to get and very exciting, and I was so happy when I got my first one, and other funding, because it used to be, ARC, great, wonderful, other funding, yeah, okay. But now I think that it's changing. But more importantly, I see the change having been on 3 ERA panels, the way the panel looked, because part of what you look at is the granting, and it used to be, oh, category 1 and then category 4, the CRC, oh yeah, but you know, yeah, you had millions there, yeah, but that's just the CRC. At the early one, the first one that I went in 2012, and then in the 2018, it was, oh yeah, they have CRC, that's good, or they don't have any CRC funding, that was a bad tick. So there is a shift sort of that, you know, it's fantastic to have category 1, but hey guys, if you don't work with industry and if you don't have some sort of a balanced portfolio, you're doomed. So it's coming, but yes, we are far away from the UK and other places which take things in a much more pragmatic way.
Well, the UK shot itself in the foot, because when I was in the last 3 years, when I was leaving the UK, they were saying to everybody, get your funding from the European Union. We're stopping this funding stream in the UK. And then Brexit happened.
Yeah, yeah.
So they are in a really bad state.
Yeah.
But you're better off here, actually, at the moment.
In many respects.
Do any of your members want to ask me anything?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't want to capitalize on Tim. Does anybody else have a question for Professor Wess? No, you're all fairly quiet. Okay. Well, I guess people are probably contemplating it, and I think.
Can I ask how many people from your lot from GeneCology attended the early career researchers meeting the other day? Did people attend? I recognise some of you.
Yes, I could jump into. I'm not sure who else is on the list, but yes, a lot of things that you're discussing today do relate to our early career researcher meeting earlier this week. That having good mentoring and good diversity is all really, really important. And so, whether you're a starting independent career researcher or an entire research center, a lot of the advice is very similar.
Okay, and Robert's saying I can't see. So if anybody wants to ask me anything, then just shout out. But you can email me afterwards. But I think that I'm beginning to think that mentoring going on, and good mentoring going on at USC, and I think that, you know, our early career researchers are our future, and so getting the best advice to those people is very, very important. And what I was saying the other day was, listen to 4 or 5 people. If they're all telling you the same thing, then maybe it's worth listening to. If you get it just from one like me, then maybe you've got to go and find out, you know, if Roland and I and Denise Wood and, you know, various other people at the university are all saying something similar, then you can get some useful information. But you know, the next few years are going to be very, very interesting for universities as a whole. The government has a very interesting, I'll use the word interesting, attitude towards universities. They clearly think that there are too many. They think the VCs are too highly paid, and I think that the public, no member of public is going to say, I think VCs are worth what they get paid. So they're pushing at an open door. Something is going to have to change in terms of universities in Australia. I just don't entirely, it's a VUCA world. We don't entirely know what the next thing that's going to be thrown at us.
Yeah, I think it is going to be very interesting. I just want to say regarding the training, we certainly try and do mentoring of our ECRs and try and help with grants. And I certainly read quite a few of the proposals that go out when anybody who wants to, and go over rejoinders with people using my experience from being on the ARC college. But you know, there's always more, and I'm really grateful that the university is doing courses which are sort of independently and also enabling other ECRs to meet with each other.
Well, what we did the other day was just a simple question was, what's the best advice you've been given? And not because it's too easy to say what's the worst advice you've been given. Could be quite funny, but what's the
I'd love to hear what was the best advice.
Networking, being present, following through. I think so many people, there's probably 30, realistically 30 manuscripts I've never finished. And for some reason, there's probably a reason why some of them I've never finished. But, you know, it's really having, maybe there's other people that are sitting there. I mean, I've had a reasonably extensive publication output, but so 30 doesn't matter so much for me, but for other people, it's, you know, finishing off, following through. I was also talking to people about this concept of sponsorship versus mentoring, where people go out and actually, you know, it'd be you or me, Abigail, actually introducing people to the people that younger people need to meet and the influencers, and then getting on the committees and doing just what you said. If you sit on an ARC committee, boy, do you begin to realize how it works and how the decision and how quickly people read grants. You would not believe how quickly people, so if you don't say within the first sentence what the hell it is that you're doing, you know, I think that people, people are busy and they read grants really, really quickly. And I think they make the right decisions, even though they're reading them quickly. You know, if you've hidden something in page 11 that you really should have read, then that's sort of your problem. But that's what you've got to learn, and you only learn that really by being on the committees.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Absolutely.
I'm just having a quick look at the chat. So Robert says there's a paper that he started in 2011. Yes, I had a 10-year delay. I was working on the Doomsday Book, if that means anything to people. It's the book that defines the United Kingdom. And somebody I wrote the paper up and it never got submitted. And it was only when the person that I was working with left the National Archive, because it was so political what we were saying, that she would not actually, she just held on to it for 10 years. And the day that she left the National Archive, she said, we can submit the paper. So that's my longest delay.
And did you?
Yeah, and I published it. Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't want to hear. They were so worried that the government didn't want to hear about the state of the Doomsday Book. Wasn't in pristine condition, but it is nearly 1,000 years old. So what do you expect?
I guess for a book 1,000 years old, the 10-year delay won't make a big.
Yeah, I think I said something similar.
Yes, fair enough. Okay. All right.
I'm sure I've crashed through a lot of the time that you needed. So
that's okay. We are delighted that you spent the time. Thank you very much. And we, you know, being on a webinar with is quite a flexible arrangement. So, Tim, thank you.